for watching Numbskull News, and today we're talking about TC freaking U playing for a title, baby. Beat Michigan, put half 100 on Michigan. What did I tell you? Don't be scared of Michigan. they're not they're not some juggernaut that the media made them out to be. It's a good team. And I don't care what anyone says. Jim Harbaugh is a damn good coach. It's a damn good program. They recruit like a son of a bitch. They got money coming out of their ass. And little tiny TCU took their ass out. And don't give me any shit about, oh, we got a touchdown called back. You had the ball on like the 1 inch line. You can't move the damn ball 1 to 6 inches. No, you fumble it. It's not. So don't. You had plenty of chances in that game to win, but you didn't. TCU led that bitch from wire to wire. So no excuses. TCU's the better team. They were better on that day. Kiss my ass. But what does that big time historic win mean for the Big 12? It helps give the Big 12 more legitimacy than it had. That's what it does. Because before, look, just to be honest, most people are looking at the Big 12 like they're the leftovers once Texas and OU leave, right? They're looking at us like, a glorified Group of Five conference. You can't look at Big 12 like that anymore. Not when you take out freaking Michigan. Does that mean TCU is going to now elevate the blue blood status? No, of course not. But overall as a conference, all right, we are to be taken more seriously than ever before. And that's without our blue bloods. They're gone, right? Well, it's not Texas and OU that just beat Michigan. It's TCU. And it doesn't mean that all of a sudden, the SEC or the Big Ten are going to say, oh, well, we got to add TCU. We know how some of these dumbass YouTubers are, especially the little bitty minuscule ones like me. And I'm not saying I'm not a dumbass, okay? I'm not saying I know everything. But I am saying is that those two conferences, look, it's $100 million a school. TCU's not worth $100 million. By themselves, they don't bring that kind of value, even with this huge win. And yeah, it's going to help with their recruiting. You bet your ass it's going to help with their recruiting. But it doesn't automatically change what the facts on the ground are when it comes to college realignment. And it's also not going to make any individual school within the Big 12 more valuable. They are what they are. But as a unit, as a conference, the Big 12 is incredibly valuable. And ESPN and Fox are getting an insanely great deal. I'm not saying you're going to be playing for national titles every year. But you're going to have teams in the playoff, especially when it moves to 12 teams. And as the great poker player Doyle Brunson once said, all I need is a chip and a seat. And that's all you need. All you need to do is get into the tournament and you got a shot. And if you got 2 shots in the tournament or 3 shots in the tournament, the chances of you winning a championship go up tremendously. And I know what you're saying. Hold on. How are we going to beat the Blue Bloods? Well, one just went down. Michigan is a blue blood. Are they an upper tier blue blood like Alabama? No. But they are a blue blood. And they just got taken out by little tiny TCU in my backyard, Fort Worth, Texas. And they just did that shit. But now recruits all over the country are going to say, well, hold on, man. The Big 12's for real. I don't have a problem going there. And where it's really going to make a difference is in the transfer portal, because you're going to have 5-star kids and 4-star kids at these huge schools, these huge blue blood schools, and they're, whatever position group that they're in, they're surrounded by other 4- and 5-star guys. All right, so the chances of them actually being able to start a game goes down, especially if they're in the freshman year, if they're rookies. So even if they're getting paid NIL money, I mean, think about it. All these kids can get endorsements. You can't get endorsements if you're riding the pine. That's not going to happen. So what? Stay at Alabama and ride the pine for 2 years, or jump in that portal like what's happening now. And where do we go? Well, Big 12 is not, I mean, it may not be a singular school in the Big 12 that's way more attractive than Alabama, but as far as moving from the SEC to the Big 12, that's not going to hurt your stock, especially if you're starting and you're good. Now you're looking at endorsements. You're looking at Gatorade. You're looking at Powerade. You're looking at Converse, Nike, whoever, GM, Ford, whatever freaking company wants to sponsor kids. And there's hundreds of millions of dollars worth of sponsorships out there for these kids to make. Because even if a kid gets 200,000, 500,000, $1 million in NIL money, that could pale in comparison to how much they can get in sponsorships. But you can't get that sponsorship money unless you're playing, because nobody wants to sponsor a guy who's holding a clipboard or is sitting on his ass waiting for someone to get injured to get into the game. So all across the league, this parity is starting to happen because, like I said, blue bloods anymore, they can't stockpile all the talent. That talent is going to get transferred through a portal to all the other conferences and all the other schools. Now you have what TCU has done is help make the Big 12 a more attractive destination for these kids, which means more talent will come into the Big 12, which will make these teams even better and more competitive. And when they're better and more competitive, especially with a 12-team playoff, you're going to get more teams in, not just maybe one, or if we're lucky, two. No, two could be the minimum. We're talking you can get to three, four stretching it, four stretching it, but you can damn sure get to three teams in the playoff. And your chances of winning a championship go up because you have more talent. And look, there's always going to be a talent gap between the big time SEC and Big Ten schools and the Big 12. But as we saw with Michigan and TCU, there is a talent gap, but it's not that big. It's not overwhelming like it was for Cincinnati going up against Alabama. Speaking of Cincinnati, they did make the playoffs last year, and they're coming into the Big 12. And that goes right into the narrative of the Big 12 being a great conference, a great football conference, a fun and competitive conference, one to be taken seriously. Because now that's 2 years in a row, we got a team into the college football playoff. I know they were in the AAC, but they're fixing to be in the Big 12. Combine that with TCU's excellent, outstanding freaking season and winning against Michigan, that it just compounds it. And the playoff is going to expand, I believe, in 2024 to 12 teams. How that really helps you is down the line, you got your 10, 11, and 12 seeds in a 12-team playoff. Now, that's where the battles are going to be fought as far as who's going to be in the playoff and the committee. So now, it's not going to be so easy for that committee to just dismiss a Big 12 team who's vying for a 10, 11, 12 spot at the end of the playoffs trying to get in. You're not automatically going to say, well, we'll just take the next SEC team or we'll just take the next Big 10 team. Perception is reality. How you perceive things becomes reality. So, let's look at how everyone looks at the Big 10, right? They're seen as an elite football conference. Are they really elite? The SEC is legitimately elite, right? Georgia right now, they are the current champion. Alabama, shit ton of titles. Auburn has one. Florida, with Tim Tebow, won several. That is the freaking conference of champions right there. And I forgot to mention LSU. They got some recent titles as well. Now let's look at the Big Ten. You got Ohio State back in whatever it was, 2016, 2015. And who else has won a championship in this century out of the Big Ten? I'm having a hard time thinking of one. Are they really that much better than the Pac-12? USC back in the 2000s, that was a great freaking team, Reggie Bush and company. Are they really any better than the ACC? In recent memory, Clemson went on an incredible run, winning back-to-back titles. Not too long ago, Florida State won a title. So I mean, I can't say that for the Big Ten. I can see one team that's had that level of success. Not Michigan, not Penn State, at least, like I said, not in this century. Wisconsin, no. Nebraska, Nebraska hasn't really been relevant since their Big 12 days. And back then, they were a freaking powerhouse. Now, they're kind of an also ran. And of course, Michigan has been really good the last couple of years, but that's been the last couple of years, and neither year has resulted in a title. But the perception is they're God's gift to football when they're not. They're really not. Look, I'm not saying it's a shitty football conference. It's a good football conference. I mean, if you're a Big Ten fan, you should be proud of that conference. There's no problem with that. But they're not so much better than everybody else outside of the SEC. They're just not. They can't hold the SEC's jock. They make more money than the SEC because of perception and because of the large markets that they're in. But no, they can't touch the SEC. Really, nobody can. So we know perception works. And right now, the perception of the Big 12, especially after what TCU has accomplished, is that this is a serious and really good and really deep football conference. And we will give you, and any team in this conference, any given Saturday or whatever day they play, can give you all you want. And with the NIL and transfer portal, the talent is just going to get better and better and better inside the Big 12. And mark my words, if it doesn't happen this year, which I am pulling hard for TCU, I think they can beat Georgia. We've seen chinks in that armor. They're not as good as they once were. They're still fantastic. I'm not saying they're not. And I'm not saying they don't deserve to be the favorite. They absolutely do deserve to be the favorite. But TCU can beat anybody any given game. They've proven it. So they got a shot. So they can win this year. But if it doesn't happen this year, it wouldn't shock me to see a Big 12 team win a title before this new contract is out in 2031. This is just completely awesome that it happened. And it's another bullet in the gun that we are giving to Brett Yarmark to go to war for this conference. And that's exactly what he's doing with PR and everything else. He's doing a great job so far. And this is just, like I said, it's another big ass bullet, another great piece of ammunition for him to use as an advocate for this conference and to help raise the profile of this conference. And don't think for 2 seconds that there aren't several Pac-12 teams looking at this game coming up on Monday saying, wow, that's outstanding. TCU versus Georgia. Dude, that could be Utah versus Georgia one day. It could be Colorado. It could be Oregon State. Even Arizona. I mean, this thing's wide open. Anybody, any given year, can rise up in the Big 12. Can't say that for the Big 10. Can't say that for the SEC. Everybody can say that about the Big 12, and that's why it's so freaking exciting. That's why this conference is awesome. Anybody can rise up and go on a run. Anyway, that's all I got. That's all I got on this. And go TCU. Come on, baby. Come on, Horned Frogs. Get their ass. Hypno-Toad, where you at? We need you one more time. Anyway, I'll be back with some other crap some other time. Bye.